Hello and welcome back slowly on the Football Zone and to a weekend previewing Premier League and Championship action. Let's get straight into it with a big Premier League game. On Saturday lunchtime, Aston Villa taking on Newcastle. And yeah, this is obviously a big game in the race for European places. Villa won their last 4, Newcastle won the last 5. Both teams on absolutely incredible form. Villa now really eyeing up a Europa League spot. Newcastle looking good for a Champions League spot. So yeah, it's a game that you feel like could go either way really with current form. But I think I'm going to say draw. I just don't think there'll be much separated two sides. Moving on then to Chelsea as they host Brighton at Stamford Bridge. And yeah, the Lampard reign obviously hasn't got off to the ideal start with 2 losses on the trot. Tottenham beating Brighton last time out, but Brighton before that were on a really good run, and they're setting up a European spot. But for Chelsea, I don't know, it looks like at this rate it's probably going to be tough for them to get in the top half, let alone fighting for Europe, just such as their season. But yeah, I'm going to say Chelsea will pick up the win here. I think, yeah, Brighton not having De Zerbi on the touchline may be a bit damaged by that, to be honest. Moving on then to Everton as they take on Fulham at Goodison Park. And yeah, Everton not on the best run of form, although I say that they only do have 1 loss in the last 5 of the last game, but yeah, they need wins. But Fulham lost the last 5. Kind of seems like their brilliant season's tailed off. Kind of got to the 40-point mark. Now consider themselves safe, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, Everton, I think, will still feel confident going into this one. It's a game that they look to win, but Fulham will, at the same time, will be looking to break that losing streak. I'm going to say we draw 1-1. Moving on into Southampton as they take on Crystal Palace at St Mary's. And Southampton coming into this one off the back of 3 losses in the last 5, winless in 5. And yeah, 4 points adrift. It's not over yet, but it is a long, long way back for them. But Palace, Roy's got them playing some real front-footed style of placements came in, which is a bit surprising considering kind of more negative tactics that we're used to from them. And yeah, they'll be coming into this one feeling confident, I think, based on recent form, and I think they'll have a bit too much for Southampton. I'm going to say 2-1 to Palace. Moving on into Tottenham as they take on Bournemouth at White Hart Lane. And Tottenham, yeah, obviously their recent shaky run of form has kind of made it look a bit tough for them to really stand a chance of getting into the Champions League. But, you know, they've got to keep believing. A must-win home game against Bournemouth, but they've won 3 of the last 5 on a really good run of form at the moment. And Gary O'Neill proving all the doubts wrong. I thought they would go down, but it seems like they do have a real chance now of staying up. But I think Spurs in this one will have a bit too much for them. 2-0. Moving on into Wolves as they take on Brentford at Molyneux. And Wolves coming into this one off the back of that 1-0 win against Chelsea. Really good win for them. Their form recently has been a bit inconsistent, but you feel like they will have enough to stay up. But Brentford, yeah, their form as well, winless in 4, kind of tailed off a bit since that win over Southampton, which will be a bit disappointing for them as they look to hunt down Europe. It looks like it's going to be a tough ask now, but yeah, they have to keep believing. I think they will have a bit too much to beat Wolves here. I just feel like Wolves could have their off day. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then to Manchester City as they take on Leicester at the Etihad. This is probably one of the headline games of the weekend. Man City, yeah, I mean, 5 wins on the trot now. Sorry, even more than that, like 10 wins on the trot now. Won every game since the end of February. It kind of sums it up. I really think the treble could be at risk here with the way they're going. Leicester on awful form. Dean Smith, is he the most inspiring appointment in the world? No, but does he still have a good chance of getting that in trouble? I'm going to say yes, but this is very much a free hit for them in a way. I'm going to say it'll be 4-0 to City. I think they'll have far too much for them. Moving on into another interesting game between a team at the foot of the table and a team really aiming for the title, West Ham against Arsenal. And West Ham 3 wins from the last 4 in all competitions. Yeah, up into 14th now. They got 3-point buffer and a game in hand. So I feel like you know, they'll be optimistic about their chances of staying up for sure against an Arsenal side that will look to bounce back from that draw against Liverpool with an improved performance. And I think they will do. I think even though West Ham have improved recently, I think Arsenal will have too much for them. But moving on into Forest as they take on Manchester United at the City Ground. And Forest coming into this one, obviously not on the greatest run of form. Lost 4 of the last 5. Haven't won since the beginning of February. So yeah, it's not going too well for them at the moment. And the Manchester United side still hunting down the Champions League. Won 4 of the last 5 after a bit of a small bit, maybe you could say. They're back to their best now, really are. And yeah, you'd expect them in the Champions League, but Forest need points to stay up. And I think Manchester United will have a bit too much from here. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on then to Leeds, and they take on Liverpool at Ellen Road. And yeah, Leeds, that 5-1 loss to Palace really was damaging just because you thought they were getting better, but no, still only got 2 points of a gap over the relegation places, so still right in amongst it. And Liverpool, we saw a much improved performance from them against Arsenal in the second half at least, and yeah, they'll be looking to replicate that, they really will, and to have any chance of getting into Europe. And I think, I can see them kind of performing more like that. I think they will come on stronger towards the end of the season. I'm going to say it'll be a 2-0 Liverpool win here. Moving on into the Championship games, and on Friday it's a big game for Norwich and their race to get in the playoffs away to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough not on the best run of form, only one win from the last 5, kind of tailed off. Automatic promotion is no longer a possibility for them now, really, you'd say. And Norwich 1 point outside the playoffs, but they need to start winning games because their form recently it's not been great. 1 win from the last 5. If they want to have a chance, but against Borough side it's not in aggressive form, it may be a good opportunity, but I feel like Borough at home will have a bit too much for me here. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on into Saturday's games, and you got Sheffield United taking on Cardiff, and this is a big game at both ends of the table. Sheffield United lost to Burnley last time out, obviously will be out Foderingham for this game, but they still should have enough to get promoted to the Premier League automatically quite easily. But Cardiff only above Reading by 1 point, 1 point clear of the drop zone, and they need to win games as well. But this is going to be obviously a very tough game for them here. I'm going to say it will be 2-0 to the Blades. Moving on then to Blackpool as they take on Wigan at Bloomfield Road, and Blackpool coming into this one we're off the back of 4 losses on the trot, Wigan 2 losses on the trot. Before that they were on a bit of a mini revival, but yeah, for both these sides, Blackpool 7 adrift, Wigan 8 adrift, 5 games to go. It really is their last chance saloon. Whoever loses this or whoever doesn't win this, if they draw it, they're down. Both teams just absolutely have to go out for it. I'm going to say at home Blackpool will get the win, but it's one that you really could go either way, and I'd like to see both teams go out all out attack. Moving on into Wigan, and they're taking on Millwall, and they're taking on Preston at the Den. And Millwall, just 2 points from the last 4 has really kind of dented the power, so it's still in it in goal difference, but they need to start winning games, and taking on a Preston side who's on great form at the moment, 1-4 of the last 5, and really pushing for a playoff spot now. This is a massive game in the race for the playoffs, it's one that you really could feel could go either way, but I think Millwall at home, the Den will have a great atmosphere. I'm going to say that just get them over the line, 1-0. Moving on then to QPR as they take on Coventry, and this is also a big game in terms of teams fighting to stay in the division in QPR's case, and teams Coventry trying to get in the playoffs. All teams kind of don't seem to want to get in the playoffs at the moment, but Coventry not on a bad run of form at the moment, and you feel like they've still got a good chance of getting in the playoffs. QPR, that comeback against West Brom could be critical for them and really could give them momentum. I'm going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw here. But it's one you feel could go either way. But moving on then to Reading as they take on Burnley. And Reading will obviously be the first game Noel Hunt's in charge of as caretaker manager. And obviously it's a big game for Reading, being inside the relegation zone with such a short amount of time left. But at the same time, you kind of also feel like it is a bit of a free hit, really, because no one expects them to get a result here. Burnley still going to go for it, still going to go for Reading's record, ironically, of most number of points in the season. I think Burnley will have too much for Reading here. I'm going to say it'd be 3-1. Moving on into another team that's threatened by relegation, Rotherham. Although 4 points clear of a game in hand, you still feel like they'll have just about enough to stay up this season, you'd imagine. Taking on a Luton Town side, obviously on a really good run of form at the moment, eyeing up the automatic promotion place. I think that would be just out of reach, but doesn't take away from the great season that they're having. It will be an interesting one. I think Luton will be expected to win this, but Rotherham also on a really interesting vein of form at the moment and could pull out a surprise, but I'm going to say it'll be a 2-1 away win to Luton Town in this one. Moving on then to Stoke as they take on West Brom at the Bet365 Stadium, and both these sides Stoke, their form's kind of tailed off after what was a really good run. West Brom, their form's not great either. 5 points outside the playoffs. It would take a big arse for them to get into it, but with teams kind of struggling towards there at the moment, you never know. They could still have a chance, they could put a run together, but it's just about that. They just don't seem to be able to do that. I'm going to say it will be a 1-1 draw here. I just think both these sides are so inconsistent, it's hard to know what to expect. But moving on then to Sunderland as they take on Birmingham at the Stadium of Light, and Sunderland coming into this one obviously off the back of that 1-0 win against Cardiff, which was a big result for them because they've been struggling recently, and Birmingham not on a bad run as well, unbeaten in the last 4. Sunderland, I don't know, 4 points outside the playoffs. If they can put on a really good run. They might make it, but it's going to be a tough ask. But at home against Birmingham, it's a good chance to kind of kickstart that run. I'm going to say it'll be a 2-0 Sunderland win here. Moving on then to Watford as they take on Bristol City at Vicarage Road. And Watford, only Watford would have to release a statement saying they're not going to sack the manager they've only had for 36 days. Watford things. Bristol City, both these teams coming into it in kind of mediocre form. Once again, you just don't know what to expect. Watford, 6 points outside the pass. That's unlikely to make it. Bristol City kind of in a similar boat. I'm going to say it'll be a 2-0 Watford win here. I think at home they'll probably have a bit too much for Bristol City. Who knows with these two teams. Moving on then to Swansea as they take on Huddersfield at the stadium at the Swansea.com stadium. Swansea coming into this one off the back of 3 wins in the last 4, but Huddersfield obviously 3 wins in their last 4 as well. Neil Warnock has truly worked his magic. Swansea, after a bit of a tough spell, looking to end their season really positively and build some momentum ahead of next season. Huddersfield still trying to pull away from the relegation zone. I think at home Swansea will have a bit too much for them, but it's a game that you kind of feel could go either way. Moving on then to Blackburn as they take on Hull at Ewood Park. Blackburn coming into this one off the back of 3 losses and a draw in the last 4 and just about clinging onto that playoff spot. That's by no means assured, and Hull winning the last one, unbeaten in 4. They'll be looking to really build some momentum into next season as well. Liam Rossini pressures he may be under as well, but I think Blackburn at home, it's a must win for them if they want to get in the playoffs, and I think they will get the win. I'm going to say it'll be a 2-0 Rovers win. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and lots of comments down below. For sharing for daily football news and squash for channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.